What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at BoxingWave10. Canelo Alvarez against Callum Smith will be going down this weekend on DAZN. Okay, I will be covering the fight live. All right, so check me out this Saturday. I don't know exactly what time it starts, but I'll definitely let you guys know as we get closer to Saturday. But we'll be this Saturday, and you can watch on DAZN. Now, from what we hear now, there's new news that this fight is now going to be available on pay-per-view. So if you have like cable and you don't actually subscribe to DAZN, you will have the option of purchasing it for $70 on like regular cable pay-per-view. All right. So these are, I guess this option is for the people that don't have DAZN and don't want to pay for the subscription service, but they just want to buy for a one-time fee, which is a lot more than just paying the monthly fee of $20. I don't really get it, but I guess there are people out there that just refuse to pay for apps. So this is just another option to pay for the fight. Okay. I always looked at it as, and I've said this before on my channel, even if you don't like DAZN, if you want to see a particular fight, you just pay for the $20 for that month. It's like paying a pay-per-view, but you're only paying $20 for a pay-per-view as opposed to $70, $75, which is what the normal pay-per-view price is for any other network like Fox Sports or ESPN pay-per-view. But whatever, I'm not really here to talk about that, but I'm just putting that out there. The news is now DAZN, now that Canelo is doing a separate pay-per-view. Okay. Also, this title is now this fight is now a WBC, WBA unification fight. Okay. Now we all know that David Benavidez was stripped from the title because he missed weight in his last fight. So Avni Yildirim was the #1 mandatory for the fight, and Canelo was supposed to be his opponent in order to win this title. But somehow the WBC worked out a deal with Yildirim where the winner of this fight is going to be ordered to face Yildirim in the next fight. Okay, so this is currently a unification match, and Yildirim is now the mandatory for the next fight. So I guess that's the agreement, or whatever. But it's not really supposed to matter anyway, because Canelo is like the franchise champion. Is that thing still active? I have no idea. But listen, it is what it is, and you can't blame anyone. I mean, if Yildirim agreed to that, then I don't have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? If there are swift changes and the fighter actually agrees with it, then I don't have a problem with it. David Benavidez screwed himself by missing weight, and this is the second time he's been stripped of the title. So he needs to be a little bit more responsible, a lot more responsible, because he was stripped before because he failed a drug test. He had like cocaine in his system. He was stripped in, and now he was stripped again for not making weight. So he needs to get it together. I know he's young, but he needs to be a lot more responsible. So he has no one to blame but himself. This is definitely not Canelo's fault. All right. So for anyone that's going with that route, it's not Canelo's fault that David Benavidez skipped weight. All right. So let's talk about this fight. I was watching a little bit of Callum Smith and John Ryder. Okay, I was watching this fight with John Ryder. I was watching this fight with George Groves. Going back, I've seen these fights before. Just looking at some keys to victory for him. And then I was watching a little bit of Canelo, some against Sergey Kovalev, obviously, because Kovalev was his last fight, and also Kovalev is tall fighter, rangy fighter. Definitely past his prime, but a good way to compare him to John Ryder. I was watching a little bit of Triple G, and I was watching Triple G in a rematch specifically because of Triple G's jab. I think Triple G had a lot of success in those two fights against Canelo because his jab, and how active and consistent he was with the jab. I definitely believe Triple G won the first fight. I think the second fight is very debatable. But one thing I will say is Triple G had success because of his jab. He has a very stiff or power jab that he uses throughout the entire fight, and it works great for him. And it's what really kind of neutralizes his opponents most of the time. Okay. So I was looking at that and, trying to compare Callum Smith, what I think he can do to win this fight, because he isn't the favorite. And, I personally don't think he's going to win this fight. But I was looking for things that he can do. And I think the John Ryder fight, I think this fight would have been a lot more competitive going in, like not competitive, but in a way where I would have thought that this fight would have been a lot more competitive if I had not seen the John Ryder fight. John Ryder, a lot shorter, which Canelo is, same sort of dimensions, similar dimensions to Canelo. John Ryder was at points in this fight able to outwork Callum Smith, the much taller Callum Smith. He was able to close the distance between the two, work better on the inside. Definitely got the better between the two whenever they exchanged. Okay. Was able to get Callum Smith against the ropes and keep him there. All right. And that's a extreme no when you're fighting Canelo. All right. The thing with John Ryder, though, I obviously don't think John Ryder is as talented as Canelo. But one thing I saw in John Ryder that I'm not actually expecting from Canelo is that John Ryder, especially because John Ryder finished the fight very strong. I think we can all agree that John Ryder finished very strong. And John Ryder was fighting as if he had nothing to lose. Canelo paces himself. Once upon a time, Canelo had some major stamina issues. And he, just like AJ, I was saying this this past weekend with AJ has learned and with all the experience that he learned how to pace himself and know how to fight in spurts. He's a very big guy. And Canelo has learned how to take certain rounds off or take certain parts of a round off in order to fight at a high level in other parts of the round. You know what I'm saying? And John Ryder he was very, very active and was bringing great pressure consistently. Whereas Canelo, he's going to fight in spurts. And the only difference is Canelo might not be working at the same pace for a long period of time, but the impact of his punches are a lot heavier than John Ryder's. Okay. And the punch variations are different too. John Ryder did a very good job, especially ducking under that hook. Callum Smith has a great, very quick left hook. We've seen it in the Rocky Fielding fight. And we also saw it in the George Groves fight. That's actually how he hurt Groves, with countering with that left hook. George Groves would shoot the right hand, and Callum Smith would just counter with a very short, quick left hook. But John Ryder did a good job of keeping a high, tight guard, very tight guard, was able to duck and slip these shots and counter and attack the body, outworking Callum Smith. Callum Smith just didn't have the inside game, and he just didn't do a good job at staying out of range. Okay, he has the height, he has the length, and he could fight tall. He can do it well, but he didn't do it that well. I think Callum Smith in this fight, first off, he needs to use different variations of his jab. I was just saying this with the Nakatani fight recently with Felix Verdejo, and this is, I know he won the fight, but to improve moving forward, I said Nakatani needs to use different variations of the jab. Just can't keep shooting the same type of jab, setting up the 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Paw the jab a little bit. Keep that lead hand out there. keep it rangy, keep that hand out there, allow that arm to be out there to mask the right hand. You know what I'm saying? Keep that hurry because you can't connect. Listen, Canelo has good defense. He has good head movement. He has the reflexes. He can slip shots and counter and everything. That's cool. He definitely has a great pull counter and everything. But you can punch through that guard. We've seen it done with Triple G. Triple G did a great job keeping that, range and shooting that jab and punching through the guard, landing right hands through the guard, landing hooks. He has that weird left hook that he throws that, like the way he loops it, it's like a little abnormal, and he was able to punch around Canelo's guard. So I think Callum Smith needs to really focus on the punch. Just don't throw a power jab over and over. Don't. You gotta change the momentum of the jab. Just to keep Canelo thinking. And you have to keep using it, but you also have to keep moving. You can't leave your back against the ropes. You can, you don't want to do it. Not against Canelo, because again, the impact of his punches is different level from John Ryder's. You can get hurt to the body. I'm probably haven't been watching Callum Smith. I've been watching him long enough, but probably I haven't really seen him badly hurt in a fight before. I've seen him get rocked a couple of times, but I never seen him down. I don't know if he has been knocked down. I don't know if he's been badly hurt, but I haven't seen it. I've seen him fight maybe about good 4 or 5 times. I've been paying attention to him since the Rocky Fielding fight, because I saw all the hype going into that fight, and that was the first time I saw him and paid attention to him. I was watching his brother's fight longer than him. But anyway, Callum needs to keep moving. He can't just stand around and shoot. He has to move his legs, and he could move, but he has to definitely work on that, moving, staying off the ropes, all right, using that jab and that right hand from the outside and using different variations of that jab to keep Canelo thinking, keeping him on his P's and Q's, not being able to, he's going to counter. Yes, he's going to slip the shots, but don't make it so easy for him to do it. You know what I'm saying? Also, definitely attack the body, especially from the outside. Shoot those body jabs. You definitely got to shoot jabs to the body, and keep it long. From up top to the body, you have to keep pumping. You have to be active. Hope he definitely worked on his endurance. I hope he's been preparing for this fight longer than the 4 weeks of the announcement. Okay. I know Canelo has been in the gym working for months. I know he was it was videos being put out because Canelo thought he was fighting, didn't know when he was fighting. And that's why the whole lawsuit came about, because it's like, when is he going to get a fight? He was trying to get all these fights. There was whole stuff going on with Callum Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, all these guys at 168, fights that were supposed to go down, never went down. So I hope with this time, Callum Smith was being active in the gym, preparing for a guy like Canelo himself too, longer than just 4 weeks. All right. I hope he's worked on his endurance, because he's going to have to outwork Canelo. He's going to have to be busy. Fortunately for him, I don't think there's any kind of like rehydration clause in this fight. I believe that when this fight was announced, that the news that first, I hope it didn't change, but from what I heard when this fight was announced, there is no rehydration clause for the day of the fight, which is great for him. So he can come in as heavy as he wants. So that would be good for him. He has to work on his endurance. He has to work on being able to move a lot, like Joshua did in the Ruiz rematch. Move, keep the distance, keep pumping the jab, shooting the right hand. You know what I'm saying? All of those things are things that he's going to need to stay in this fight. Canelo, on the other hand, We already know what Canelo can do. He can adjust to anybody. He's for all types of fighters. He has all the experience. His experience is on levels above Callum Smith. And he's used to fighting guys that are longer, taller, stuff like that. This is not the first time we've seen him do it. All right. And I don't think Callum Smith specifically brings anything that Canelo hasn't seen before. Like I said, I was talking about Kovalev earlier. Kovalev, older at the time, but much more experienced. He's much more of a destroyer in his prime, but he had a lot more experience, knew how to work the jab a lot better. And the fight was still very competitive because of the jab, just like the Triple G fight, because of the jab. A lot of fighters, jab is what kept them in a fight against Canelo. And Callum needs to do that. But Canelo, such a sharp, precise puncher, great counter puncher, knows how to close the gap. John Ryder seemed to do it so easily, would shoot the jab, then would step in with that high guard and then work the body, work up top, throw the combinations. He would be in position, and he got the better of John Ryder while they were on the inside. Another fight I can think of recently, Derevyanchenko against Triple G, Derevyanchenko against Jamal Charlo. Charlo was clearly winning the fight, but it just seemed like whenever Jamal would let Derevyanchenko get on the inside, Derevyanchenko was doing the better work, and he was picking up rounds by being on the inside. And plus Jamal, who didn't do a bad job on the inside against Derevyanchenko, it was still Derevyanchenko still had the advantage on the inside. So Canelo's gonna have the advantage. He's a shorter guy. He has the quicker hands. He's a big hooker. He's a big body puncher. And he knows how to go to work once he's in. I think him being shorter is not really much. You're not gonna have just a huge advantage against him because he knows how to fight against these taller guys. I seen him sparring with Frank Thomas, the Cuban heavyweight. Well, he's not a prospect, but a contender. Very big guy, much bigger than Callum Smith. And these are the guys that he's in there preparing with. Heavyweights, taller, bigger heavyweights, and a very athletic one at that. So Callum Smith, even compared to him, it's no real comparison. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm saying. Canelo is going to close the gap between you. But when he does, don't stay exactly where he wants you to be. You got to move your legs. Canelo has developed to become a better mover in the ring. He's become better at closing the gap. You can go back to the Arislani fight. Arislani Lara was one of the better movers that you have in boxing. And Canelo was still able to close in on Lara at times and attack the body. So if he was able to do it, he's definitely going to be able to do it against Callum Smith, But Callum Smith needs to work on just land. I hope the camp is not just working on trying to land one big shot. If it happens, it happens. But you want to try to win rounds. And when the opportunity comes, try to land a big shot. You have the hook, the uppercut. Try to catch Canelo while he's closing in and try to set that uppercut as he's stepping in. You can try to catch him with that. Catch him with the left hook, same thing. But for the most part, every round by round, you have to move. You have to keep pumping that jab because Canelo is going to be hunting you down. And the thing is, Canelo makes you work without Canelo having to really work like that. Canelo is just being in your face. He's not throwing that many punches. Okay, he's a precise puncher. He's not really in there trying to outwork you by throwing more punches than you are. He's trying to make every punch count, and the impact is really great. Canelo makes you work by staying within your space without actually throwing. So he's inching closer to you. He's leaning in, but he's not really throwing punches, and that is what burned Kovalev out. Kovalev was just constantly punching, throwing jabs. It was getting him rounds and was keeping him in the fight, but it was wearing him down. And he just had that war with Anthony Yard. You know, he didn't have much time to recover. And then going in there at 35, 36 years old, or whatever age he was, against Canelo Alvarez, it was just too much. You know, and this is part of the reason why I think Canelo is still going to win, because whatever, you know, Callum Smith, based on what I've seen him do, I don't know, maybe he can bring something new to the table. I'm sure they're preparing for him and doing maybe some of the things that I brought up. I don't know. But there's nothing that I've seen in his game up to this point that would make me think he can beat someone on Canelo's level. You know, Canelo has been in there with so many different types of fighters, and he's developed over the years, and he's still developing. And still, you know, yes, he's at his prime, but even as he's aging, he could still mature and learn and become better at certain things, you know. Yes, he's at his actual peak right now, but he can still learn new tricks, and he can still mature as he continues to age. And I mean, just comparing Canelo now to the Canelo that fought Triple G in the first fight, even though that was just maybe 3 years ago now, it seemed like he's gotten so much better since then, you know. And I don't really see, I don't know if Callum could maintain. He has to fight at a certain level that I just haven't seen him fight before. Maybe he can do it, but I don't know. You know, the John Ryder fight just doesn't, I don't think he can get so much better within one camp, you know, within one fight. You know, Canelo's just too good, too much of too big of a counterer. Just defense wise, reflexes, punching power, hand speed. You know, he could pretty much do it all. The adjustments he can make in the ring. And like I said, he can make you work so much without actually having to really work that hard. You know, he's so comfortable with getting in the bigger man space and staying there without doing anything. You know, and it makes you, mentally, it makes you go crazy, you know? And then that's another thing. A lot of these fighters get starstruck, you know? A lot of these guys never seem to look really, I think a lot of these fighters are intimidated by Canelo going into the fight. And then when they get in the ring, they seem to even be more intimidated by him, because now they're like, wow, I'm in there. This is the top of the charts right here. This is the guy right here. And I think these guys kind of just get frozen a little bit, and they never really get fully comfortable in there. I hope that doesn't happen with Callum Smith, but it could happen with him. All right. So listen, I have Canelo winning this one. I don't know. I would like to think Callum Smith is tough, and I think he's a bigger guy. He's a younger guy. I think he's going to probably be more durable than Kovalev was. I expect him to finish this fight. You know, I expect him to go the distance. But I also expect Canelo to win unanimously and, just put on a great performance. You know, hopefully we could get a good fight. It is a good matchup, and we should get a good fight. But I have Canelo winning this one by unanimous decision. All right? Peace.